And we are back in Studio 7 as we will discuss the latest madness surrounding the men's NCAA tournament. Joining me on our panel tonight is Andrew Amouzou, Zoe Comerford, and Nick Galle. Let's get started. With the first 2 rounds in the books, what are your main takeaways and which upsets have stood out to you out most? Like we have Oral Roberts, Loyola Chicago's back in as another upset. So what are kind of your thoughts on the first 2 rounds?
Well, I think it has to be the most obvious one, and that has to be Illinois. I mean, a lot of people had Illinois being their national champs.
Yeah.
And you saw them go against Loyola, and you knew it was going to be a very competitive game. You know, Loyola wasn't going to let up. And then Ayo Dosunmu decided not to show up. And, I mean, Kofi Coburn, he had a great game. But Krutwig, I mean, he must have really scared him because that entire team just pooped their pants and they just let Loyola stampede right over them. It was very just tough to see for Illinois fans, but everyone who had them winning in their national championship brackets.
And then I would say, I mean, for me, I agree with you that definitely, Illinois is an upset for sure. I had them in my Final Four, so it was very disappointing. I think, in terms of a lot of people didn't have Loyola picked over Illinois, but I thought it was interesting because I don't think that Illinois ever should have had to play Loyola in the second round. I think Loyola was completely underseeded, and they honestly should have been a 3 or 4 seed, and they should not have had to play Illinois. They're in 2018 they made the Final Four. Like you have to take that into account. They had a good season this year, and I think they got underseeded. But I do think another interesting upset was Oral Roberts. I mean, they're now in the Sweet 16. They beat Florida and they beat Ohio State. And Ohio State, 97% of CBS brackets had Ohio State winning. So, I mean, that was a huge upset. And, I mean, it busted mine from the beginning.
Those are obviously 2 huge upsets. I think one that really surprised me that just came out of nowhere was that North Texas Purdue one. And I think that's one that gets really just overlooked because of the Oral Roberts upset. Illinois getting upset. Yeah. But, I mean, that just came out of nowhere. I know a lot of people had Purdue going into the Elite 8. Some people really went risky and went Final Four. I wouldn't put them that high.
Very
but
risky.
I did have Purdue winning a couple games, and North Texas just came out of nowhere. So I think that was a really surprising game for me personally.
I mean, Purdue has shown that they haven't really had some great tournament success.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, am I surprised? Not really. But Ohio State, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
They took Illinois all the way to OT in the Big East, not the Big East, the Big Ten championship game. And I'm like, whoa, Ohio State's the real deal. And then look what happens.
Yeah. I mean, every single year there are some kind of upsets. But this year there have been so many upsets. But last week when we did our picks, some of us made some really bold predictions. And it's time to hold you all accountable. So let's roll the tape.
My Final Four.
You're a little hesitant here.
I know, yeah. Well, I know. Well, yeah, people are going to get on me for this, obviously.
For sure.
And I'm going to say Oklahoma State, UConn, Iowa, and then my last one is Baylor. I mean, Baylor's a shoo-in. People are going to judge me on the UConn thing. I know that. Listen, I don't care. Judge me for the UConn thing, okay? Like, I've been growing up watching UConn. Yeah. They won the national championship when they had Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatwright. That was a team no one expected. So you got Book Knight now. I think this team can really do it. They've played really well. We've seen that in their games against Marquette. I think they're going to be fine. I think everyone's sleeping on Oklahoma State. I mean, Cade Cunningham.
I don't know about sleep.
Yeah, sleep on them. I don't care. Sleep on them. My goodness.
Yeah, so obviously Nick made some bad picks and going all in on UConn, and then my hometown Maryland Terps kind of did them dirty in the first round. So what do you guys think was the worst pick? And do you think he can rebound with the Syracuse prediction?
Is this an actual question? Like, are you serious?
You made awful picks. Oklahoma State,
Two of them are bad. Two of them are
UConn,
bad.
and Iowa.
Okay, hold on. Hear me out here. I want you to name a ship other than the Titanic that traveled in 1912.
Who's
going to
know?
Wait, what?
Hold on, listen. You can't name one, right?
Yeah.
You can only name the Titanic. You know why? Because it was a disaster. It got remembered. Sometimes it takes a disaster to get remembered. And my Final Four picks were a disaster. So you know what? They're going to get remembered, okay? So all I'm saying,
so they're remembered for having all those people die. That's what you need.
Whoa!
Why
I'm
are
not
you
bringing death into this. I'm just giving
the Titanic?
You brought in the Titanic.
I think it was a glowing
correlation.
comparison. I think it was a glowing comparison. I think it's great.
That is
I think
an
it's going to get remembered. I think I had some good picks. They were risky, but you know what? I'm telling you, you got to live on the edge.
So what? Your picks ended up like Jack dead.
That's fine. You know.
All right, well, you said you made some good picks. Well, let's talk about them.
Let's talk
Oklahoma
about 'em.
State. I mean, all you have is Cade Cunningham.
Avery Anderson III, too,
And
is
he
playing
didn't even
fantastic.
All you have is Cade because, I mean, he's prominent on that team. And there's a history of just colleges having only one player, and they don't make it that far. You saw Trae Young in the past. You saw John Morant. He beat Marquette, but
Right.
I mean, he
But
didn't go
also,
that
Marquette
far.
was just not good
Avery
then.
But then you have
Anderson.
that. If you cannot, you have to win as a team. You can't
Yeah,
do
That's
that.
what I'm saying. But Cunningham wasn't even good in that first game. He was not up to Cunningham standards, and they still won because of Avery Anderson stepping up. They had a two-combo thing going on there, Anderson and Cunningham. So that's why I had them going
Okay,
deep.
yeah, the Oklahoma State one, we can say that. But the UConn one, you were
UConn one.
so high. James
Listen.
Bouknight, oh, they played well
but-
against Marquette. Everyone played well against Marquette this year.
Not everyone played well against Marquette.
Most
That's
people.
debatable. Most
Most
people did.
people.
Most people. I was high on the UConn one because I liked Bouknight, and I thought they were a solid team, and they were for the majority of the season. They might have peaked a little early. Now that I look back on things, in hindsight, was it a bad pick? Maybe. Would my parents put that one on the fridge? No. All right, but
But I
Wouldn't
think
even put it on the
you
garage
can't.
fridge.
I mean, UConn, they missed 30 shots in the first half. I mean, you can't predict that.
No.
Like,
Listen,
they just
listen,
shot
But
bad.
you can't
Listen.
predict a Final Four
I mean,
appearance.
but
I will say this.
I will say this.
they could have had a run.
Last show, you said when you were talking about UNC and Wisconsin, you said because we mentioned that they both lost to Marquette, and you
Yep.
said, "Oh man, that's terrible. That's terrible for both teams." I mean, that wasn't really a big game anyway. But UConn, I mean, they were losing to Marquette, and they came back. Obviously, they won the game, but I mean, come on.
listen, last March,
You gotta be a man of your word.
Last March, we put my dog down. This March, my bracket's a mess.
Oh
all
my
right?
God.
Oh my gosh,
March
so
is-
death again.
No,
Oh
listen,
my God,
March-
I really hope
March
your
is
parents
not my
are
month.
not watching
March
this.
is not my month, okay? It's very clear. March is not my month. But
Did you get
how
your
about those
heart broken in
Syracuse
March,
Orange,
too?
huh? How about those Syracuse Orange? That's what I'm saying.
That was a good
That-
pick.
that's
Yes,
a good
that
pick.
was a good pick.
doing
That
But we're
was a
talking-
good
we're
pick,
talking
but we're not
Final Four.
talking about
Final
that.
Four, I know. My Final Four was a disgrace. It was terrible. Between the death of my dog and my brackets, I've lost a lot
we
of
stop
money.
bringing
Oh,
up the
God.
death
No,
of
I'm
your
just
dog?
saying.
Death up.
I'm
Come
just saying. March, not my month. Don't trust Nick Galle in March. Maybe
So
that's
what's
a
going
thing.
to happen next
I don't
month?
know.
Yeah, what's
Next year, in my Final Four, I got Marquette.
No, what's going
Oh
to
my
happen to you
God.
in
North
March next
Texas.
month?
Gosh.
What?
What's going to happen to you in March next month? Because March doesn't seem to be your year.
I don't
so.
know. I don't know what's going to happen. But listen, Syracuse, hear me out right now.
We're
The
hearing you out.
Syracuse
Okay.
Orange are winning this year's tournament, all right? I'm
Okay.
saying it right
So,
now.
so who's paying you?
Okay.
Who's paying you to
Yeah,
say
who-
this?
No one's paying
No
me.
I
one
need
is
some money
paying
like
him.
that,
This
too.
is a
Spokesperson.
disclaimer. No one is paying him to say
Everyone
this.
knows I don't like New York. Clearly, I'm not a spokesperson for the state
Obviously,
or
you don't
Syracuse.
like
That's
New
true.
York.
That's
Our
fair.
thoughts and our prayers are to your dog. That's
sure.
a big deal.
Oh,
But
we're moved
we're
on to
gonna
bigger
we're gonna
better
need
things,
His
Andrew.
dog
your-
made
your-
his pick, so it's
We're
all
good now.
okay.
Your
dog
predictions
and
are
your
gonna
picks
need
are
more than
together in
prayer.
heaven. So.
Your predictions are gonna need more than prayer. They're gonna need everything.
I'm
They're gonna
telling
need
you.
the whole church
gonna need
family,
more than prayer, for
everything.
sure.
'Cause
Syracuse,
there's no saving.
Syracuse, all the way. They're going all the way.
Oh, I hope we bring this back in a couple weeks.
They're
Okay,
going-
well,
bring it
I
back.
think I've had enough dead dog discussion for tonight. So thank you all for the great discussion and honing in on Nick. Hopefully your picks are good next year,
Oh,
or
they'll be
maybe even
fine,
good
yeah.
for next week.
We can hope.
But we are out of time, so be sure to tune in next week for all of our coverage of Marquette sports and more. For Amy Galashevsky, I'm Kristin Parisi. Good night, Marquette.